According to the Bible, David's time of 1 year and 4 months under Philistine rule, particularly in Ziklag, showcased his ability to navigate complex political landscapes, forging unlikely alliances. Though nominally a vassal of King Achish of Gath, David maintained his independence, conducting strategic raids while carefully preserving Philistine trust. By cultivating relationships both among his hosts and neighboring tribes, David solidified a network of allies, laying the groundwork for his eventual ascent as a unifying leader in Israel. While David was still living in Philistine country, the Philistines prepared to battle King Saul. The leader of this Philistine coalition was Achish, king of Gath, the man to whom David had to report his activities. Again, the letters authored by the king of Gath are preserved in the Amarna archive, where he describes the preparations to his most decisive battle against the Habiru revolt. The leader of the pro-Egyptian coalition in the Amarna Letters is named Suwardata. At first glance, this is a very different name from the biblical king of Gath, Achish. Indeed, there is no phonetic resemblance between the biblical name Achish and the name Suwardata found in the archaeological record. However, etymologically, they are very similar. Both Achish and Suwardata can be translated as "the sun has given." The biblical name derives from a shortened version of Achi-Shamash, which omits the theophoric element from the Canaanite sun god Shamash. In contrast, the Amarna name originates from the Hittite sun god Suwat, of Luwian and Hurrian origins. The Amarna Letter number 283 underscore one of the most detailed description of the political landscape in this war between the Habiru rebel forces and the pro-Egyptian coalition. It is the king of Gath himself who describes to the pharaoh the difficulties of this war against Libiah in a tone of necessity.
May the king, my lord, be informed that 30 cities have waged war against me. I am alone. The war against me is terrible.
On the biblical account, the gathering of Philistine forces for the final battle against King Saul of the Hebrews is described in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 1, that reads,
In those days, the Philistines gathered their forces to fight the Hebrews. Achish said to David, You must understand that you and your men will accompany me in the army.
But the Bible explicitly tells us that even though David was living as a Philistine during this time, he did not take part in the battle because the other Philistine leaders did not trust him to fight his former commander. The Bible states this negative response in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 28 verses 3-5 that reads,
The commanders of the Philistines asked, What about these Hebrews here? Achish replied to the question, Is this not David, who was an officer of Saul, king of Israel? Saying, He has already been with me for over a year, and from the day he left Saul until now, I have found no fault in him. But the Philistine commanders were angry with Achish and said, Send the man back, that he may return to the place you assigned him. He must not go with us into battle, or he will turn against us during the fighting. How better could he regain his master's favor than by taking the heads of our own men?
After the discussion, the Philistine forces advanced to the battlefield, where they finally confronted the Israelite army at Mount Gilboa. The outcome of the battle, led by the king of Gath on one side and the king of the Hebrews on the other, mirrors the account found in the Amarna archives. The biblical narrative in 1 Samuel chapter 29 verse 1 describes the defeat of Saul and his Hebrew forces.
The Philistines fought against Israel, the Israelites fled before them, and many fell dead on Mount Gilboa.
The biblical account also describes the death of Saul a few verses later in this chapter, as it records,
The fighting grew fierce around Saul, and when the archers overtook him, they wounded him critically.
The same result for the confrontation of the king of Gath against the Habiru forces is recorded in the Amarna Letters. The report of the battle is authored by the king of Gath. He is quite clear about the death of the Habiru leader in the Amarna Letter number 366. that attests,
"May the king, my lord, be informed that the Habiru that rebelled against the lands of the god of the king, my lord, was captured by me, and I killed him."
The king of Gath then proceeds to name the kings who helped him against the Habiru forces. He names the governor of Jerusalem, the governor of Acre, and the governor of Ashaph.
"Only Abdiheba of Jerusalem and I have been at war with the Habiru. Suwardata, the ruler of Akka, and Endaruda, the ruler of Akshaph, these two also have come to my aid with 50 chariots, and now they are on my side in the war. So may it seem right in the sight of the king, my lord, and may he send Commissioner Yanhamu, so that we may all wage war, and you restore the land of the king."
Despite Tagi of Gintikirmil and Ili-Milku being described as key allies of Suwardata in other Amarna letters, these two leaders did not participate in the final battle against Libiah. This absence could be attributed either to their status as relatively minor leaders in the context of the battle, or to the possibility that their alliance with Suwardata was cemented only after the confrontation. However, how this detail aligns with the third possibility, given by the biblical account of David being refused a place in the army, is particularly noteworthy. The depiction of Saul's death in the Amarna archive in letter 245 also aligns remarkably with the biblical narrative, creating a synchronism that it is just mesmerizing. It not only records the name of Libiah's military general, Balmer, whose phonetic resemblance to Saul's general, Abner, is compelling, but it also captures the final moments of this military leader in very specific detail. The next chapter delves into the fascinating parallels between the death of Libiah, as recorded in Amarna Letter 245, and the biblical account of Saul's death. It will examine their dramatic escapes from the battlefield, the relentless pursuit by the king of Gath, and the mysterious circumstances surrounding the discovery of their lifeless bodies. This examination will also explore how these events set the stage for a divided rule, marked in the Amarna Letters by references to the sons of Libiah, which may echo the division of Saul's kingdom in the biblical account.